Hello there and welcome back to another edition of Silly Car Showdown. Today we are taking a look at the Opel Kadett A. This car was requested by Daniel Philpott, and this one, well, it's another oldie-timey car. I believe this may be our first, if not one of our very first, German cars we have had. The Opel Kadett, of course, spawning the later Vauxhall Astra, or sorry, Opel Astra, in this case, a car which remains in production today. The original Kadett was a tiny little two-door saloon car, which, while sure it spawned the Astra, its biggest claim to fame is, of course, being Oliver, owned by Richard Hammond during the Africa Special, or one of the Africa Specials for Top Gear, and yeah, it was, it pretty much went down in history from there. I believe he still has Oliver. He imported it back into this country, and he's had it ever since. But anyways, the Kadett A here will not be remaining as stock as old little Oliver. Instead, we're going to be chucking away that old Opel engine which makes 46 horsepower and cannot do 100 miles an hour, and we're going to be replacing it with something a little bit better. We have a choice of a 2-litre inline 4 from a Civic Type R, a 1.6-litre inline 4 from a Civic Type R, or of course the ever popular, ever present turbo rally engine. We are going to go for the 2-litre VTEC motor today, and I'm going to just lob a turbo on it. I would go for the 1.6, but it doesn't make as much power, and I don't believe the 1.6 is actually that unique of an engine in this game. Of course, in accordance with the rules of this series, the car will not be receiving any Forza Aero, but I will remove the chrome because it makes the paint job look slightly better. Anyways, of course, we are going to want race tyres. We can do pretty much every single tyre compound on this car, which is nice. Right, tyre sizes. Oh, God. Really? Is that all we can get? 185s are the limit? That's not good. Yeah, the 185s is all we can get. I'm now scared of this car. Anyways, well, my confidence has sort of gone down drastically in this one, but nevertheless, we will persevere. Oh, I forgot to mention, this car is actually rear-wheel drive as well, unlike the later Astras, so that's something to bear in mind. Anyways, we are going to want the race springs, stick in the anti-roll bars, definitely going to want the roll cage, because this thing is going to make a lot more power than it did stock, and the weight reduction, although I can't imagine there's that much weight in this car to begin with, to reduce particularly. Anyways, we are in S-Class at least, which is a good-ish sign, as the power keeps climbing. We're going to get our biggest power boost from the turbo, as usual, so we'll just keep plumping these in. PI is still climbing, and now I'm scared fully because the PI is now dropping very quickly. But will it recover? No, it won't. It's staying S1821 class. 4.8 seconds to 60. A top speed of 218.8 miles per hour. Jesus Christ. 719 horsepower, 469 foot-pound torque, 1,501 pounds of weight. This may very possibly be the lightest car we've ever had other than the Peel, but the Peel isn't really a car. I'm just looking up the list quickly. Maybe the Imp was lighter, but yeah, that certainly is one of the lightest ones we've ever had. So, there's the Kadett. It may very well turn out to be a death trap. Those 185 tyres are not fulfilling me with much confidence at all. Yeah. I don't think this is going to go well. I have a funny feeling Daniel Philpott wants me dead because I keep calling him Daniel Plantpot. But, thanks AK for that. Anyways, let's go ahead and see if the Kadett will deal many levels of death, or whether it will be a faithful friend, just like Oliver. Well, it's time to see if the Kadett is going to kill me or not, as we are in a very snowy Edinburgh to, of course, take on our track. The Kadett is going to get 5 laps to set the best time it possibly can. Our current leader is the Honda NSX-R GT Hybrid, which had a time of 142.500. The Kadett is not going to challenge that. Realistically with the Kadett, I think the Imp is a pretty good target for this car. That's at a 153.3, but we will have to see. The tyres do not fill me full of any confidence when it comes to this Kadett. We are sliding around all over the place as I'm trying to get that engine to sort of get some of that 700 horsepower down. 700 horsepower for this car is ridiculous. I should just point that out again. I wouldn't put 700 horsepower through an Opel Kadett, but if you want to do that, you can. Also, I found something out while I was playing around. I will quickly show this off on this sort of starting lap. This car has the coolest speedo I've ever seen in an older car. So, it essentially, you'll see this, it actually changes colours depending on what speed you go. So it starts green, and then it gets orange, and then it goes red. We are very far into the red today when driving this Kadett. And we are going to be indeed. I was quickly messing around while I was waiting for Azza, who of course as always is my trusty person to start this races with. While I was waiting for him to buy a car, I did test this out quickly on the road pretty much near the castle, and I can safely confirm this will do 200 miles an hour. It is utterly terrifying getting up to 200 miles an hour, but it will do 200 miles an hour. And you can use all of the power pretty much none of the time. It is very skittish. I can't say I wasn't expecting that, but yeah, it is very, very skittish. It feels like it wants to just not grip. It doesn't really want to move in a particularly quick manner, let's put it that way. Opening lap, of course, doesn't really matter. I was too busy trying to show off the speedo and stuff like that, so I won't even bother to read out that time, but it does at least beat the Unimog, which is something. There's always a couple of bumps over there. I will say, one advantage for the Kadett is, despite being on race suspension, the suspension is actually softer than most race suspensions are, and that might actually be a good thing when it comes to countering curbs and stuff like that. It does mean the actual weight transfer is a little bit wonky, and you can definitely feel that in the way it drives. But it should save it a little bit on the curb, so it really is sort of a advantage and a disadvantage at the same time, but I do feel it probably has more advantages than disadvantages, because this would never be a particularly controllable car in any way. God. We can do about 140 down towards the Glasgow Smile, but the car will just give up halfway through there, through gripping and stuff. Also, this thing has the smallest exhaust, or the smallest and longest exhaust on a car I've ever seen. It's like minute, but at the same time it sticks out so far, because usually it's covered by the chrome bumpers, of course, or partly masked by them. But on this it cannot be. It's not as nimble as the Kadett. The Kadett obviously had bigger tyres because it had the option of the wide body kit, which did help that car a lot, help the Imp. I don't know if I said Kadett by accident. Again, these two cars actually launch simultaneously, so it should be pretty interesting to see which one of these two wins out. Although my money is definitely on the Imp. Right, first flying lap with the Kadett. It is going to score a 1:55.922. That puts it just above the Bentley, I believe. The Bentley, well, Bentley 8 litre, but in our case it was a 5.7 litre V10. So, yeah, it's still 2 seconds off of the Wooded Wanker, which was a terrible driving. This is probably worse than that is. I should have really... Why? And that's one of the issues with Edinburgh in general, is there's some weird stuff that goes on with this track. Again, I'm not quite sure if it's supposed to emulate potholes or something, but yeah. It's not something you'd really notice in normal driving, I don't think, but when you're driving cars as crazy as these, you definitely do notice it. I'm not quite sure why it happens either, but it does. Nope. We're going to do about 139 and then we're going to lose control. So that's not particularly great. Yeah, it's hard. It really is a very, very hard car to try and keep in a straight line, because all it wants to do is just move around. It is difficult. There is no doubt about that. This car is not particularly nice to drive. I'm pretty glad I didn't go with the Turbo Rally, because the Turbo Rally in this really would have made it a lot worse than the Kadett. The only thing I can think this has over the Kadett is it is technically quicker in the straight line, but I'm not honestly sure by how much, considering it just sort of sways from left to right. The Kadett was relatively solid, and that was rear-engined, which makes it all the more weird. I'm not sure what the weight distribution's like on this, but I can't imagine it's too far off 50-50, so probably like 60-40 or something. So, considering the Kadett all had its weight in the rear, that is very peculiar indeed. Anyways, that is a slower time because of that big old kink we picked up, and this is going to be even more of an issue. Anyways, coming around here, I don't think this lap's going to be any quicker. I don't really... The problem is, it doesn't feel like there's really that much more time I can get out of the Kadett. It's just not a good car at the end of it all. So, yeah, I know it's probably disappointed some people. They were like, damn, I wanted to see the Kadett knock off the NSX, but no, it really isn't. And it really is not anywhere nice as the Imp. I drive the Imp 15 times more. Or I drive the Imp over and over and over again over driving the Kadett once more, because the Kadett is bad. Oh my god, we got it in a straight line enough to almost see 150 miles an hour. Again, the ironic thing is, once it stops wiggling, it's actually very, very quick indeed. The actual speed of it is not that bad, and the brakes aren't that bad. But it's just a case of, I wish to God that the tyre sizes on this, if it had 255s, it would be infinitely better, but because it has such pathetic little 185 tyres, it just is not great. It's just not great in the slightest. We work on a sort of rock side to side again, because that's the Opel Kadett way, it seems. I'm going to get a bit of a bounce off there. Car's not too happy about that, but oh well, I'm not too happy about driving it. Right, final lap. I've really got to try and find a little bit more speed in this. I know it can go a little bit quicker. It's just so weird. That's how I sum it up. It's weird, but you sort of predict it's not going to be great by, again, the fact it's a tiny car with 700 horsepower and 185 tyres all round. It's just never going to be good. I mean, hell, even 255s on the rear would have been better than what we've got at the moment, because it's just not good in the slightest. This lap does seem a little bit cleaner. Did have an issue through the first section, but you know, there's not really much you can do about that. I'll get it through this corner. Little bit of sliding on the way up the hill. Try and settle the car down so it can go for a little bit of straight line speed. 146. Again, it's not a slow car. It's actually very bloody quick indeed. And I do think, provided the road was clear and you was very, very careful with the throttle, you could probably do that claimed 220 miles per hour top speed. But it's not going to do it in its current state. Right, that was actually pretty good through there. As we get back on the throttle, try and get up the hill. The hills is where it struggles as well. Just trying to get enough throttle to get it up the hill, while also being very careful to not overdo it. It is pretty darn hard. It's been hard for quite a few vehicles, but the Kadett especially seems like it has some issues. Pick up a load of understeer through there, because of course we do. And the rush to the line, is it going to be any quicker? No, it is a 155.922 for the Opel Kadett, and I just don't see myself going any quicker in it, really. It's just not good. There's no real way to be nice about it. There's no point of beating around the bush with it. It's just not a good car to drive. Again, I think it would benefit so much more from just having slightly bigger tyres and it would have been a lot better. Because, yeah, it's slightly bigger tyres, even if it had to weigh an extra couple £100, it would have been quicker. But as it stands with its skinny little tyres, it's not gonna get anywhere particularly quickly. Anyways, with that 155.922, it will put it into 11th place. It is 2 seconds down on the Ford Wooded Wanker. It is only slightly quicker than the Bentley 5.7 litre V10. Admittedly, the Kadett is more exciting to drive than that Bentley was. The Bentley was a fairly boring car. It just wasn't particularly quick. The Kadett is much more interesting, but it is, I mean, out of the two, it is a worse car to drive. But hey, at least it's also quicker than the Unimog and the Peel P50, which is something. Anyways, thank you all very much for watching this edition of A Silly Car Showdown. Do hope you've enjoyed. As always, if you have cars you'd like to request for this series, there's a couple of ways you can request them. Number one is, of course, the comment section of either this video or this video on HG Central when we co-host them. You can also join my Discord server, which is in the link in the description if you're watching this on my channel, which is by far and away the best place to submit the cars. I wish you'd do that, just because it keeps everything nice and concise and in one place. If you're watching this on HG Central and you've enjoyed, my name's been Emile. I make subpar content and post it to the internet. It is at most a 4 out of 5. Oh, sorry, 4.5 out of 10. But if you want to come along and see that, you do get these videos. I don't know what the hell happened there. You do get these videos a couple of days, 1 day early as well. So, if you want that, you can come ahead and get it. But, yeah, thank you all very much for watching, and until next time, hopefully we get something with bigger tyres next time, because I don't want to drive something on 185s again, and farewell.